Welcome, everybody. Today, we're going to talk about a really important topic. I think it's really, really important, especially this time of year. So many people are dealing with the flu, just common colds. Sometimes it can even trigger allergies. So it's just that time of year where a lot of people are sick. And when you're pregnant or you're breastfeeding, you're usually pretty aware that you have to be careful of the medication. And I think medication is really important to understand that even over the counter common cold medications can affect breast milk. A lot of times we think of that when we are given a prescription, but we don't always think about it with over the counter type of medications like Tylenol or Robitussin or just different pseudoephedrins, different allergy medications, that kind of thing. So I think it's really important to understand how medication, like what you should be thinking about, what questions you should ask your doctor, the pharmacist, when you are getting ready to take a medication. When I would have a mom that would come in and she would complain of her milk supply diminishing, or she felt like it had decreased, you always ask a lot of different questions. And one of the questions I always ask is, are you taking any new medication or any types of medication? And sometimes a mom will be like, oh, no, I'm not taking anything, because in their mind they're thinking like a prescription, medications like that. They don't think about certain medications that can affect, like ibuprofen or Tylenol or Excedrin, and I'm not saying those things affect milk supply, but like when I ask that question, a lot of times they don't even realize, oh yeah, I do take a birth control. They don't think about it as a medication. And so, just asking more questions like, do you suffer from allergies? Do you take a birth control? And I've gotten a lot of moms who will say, I'm not taking any medication. And then when I start asking some of those questions, I'll be like, oh yeah, I do take, a thyroid medication, or I do take this or that. So it's just really important to think about whenever we put anything in our mouth, medication wise, even herbal type things, anything that we put in our mouth, we want to make sure that it's not going to affect our milk supply, and also that it's not going to affect the baby. And, and if it does, if it passes through your milk, and how much of it gets through the milk. And if it does, if it affects the baby, is it safe for the baby? Just a lot of questions that we need to think about. And I will put in the description below just some more informational links so that you have that as, to look at. Now, for me, I have different books on medications and different things that I know to ask you as a mom. But for you, for your own research, you want to have something that you can look at and read, and maybe even there are some links of websites that you can go to where you can get, you can type in a medication and it will tell you, like, is it safe? And is it safe for the baby, for you to take it while you're breastfeeding? Is it safe for your milk supply? Those different things. So the common things that affect milk supply are things like cold medicines, anything that's like a cough suppressant or a pseudoephedrins, anything that helps with nasal. A lot of times those things can decrease our milk supply. So common cold medications should always be, you should just always be aware that they can affect your milk supply. And so you want, when you're when you're taking something like that, or you're thinking about taking something like that, you just want to know that it can decrease your milk supply. Now, there are things that you can do. Say you have the flu, and maybe you have a stuffy nose, or maybe you have, let me think, maybe you have a sore throat. So you have to like find other ways to relieve that. Maybe you have a fever. Usually regular Tylenol is safe to take. But if you took like Tylenol flu or Tylenol sinus or something like that, those can affect your supply. The nasal sprays, I do not believe that they affect your milk supply, but that is something, again, to look at the back and read what it says. Always, always talk to your doctor, the pediatrician. I have a cold, and is this safe for me to take while I'm breastfeeding the baby? Is it safe for me to take and not affect the baby? So you're thinking of your milk supply, but you're also thinking of your baby as well, and whether it will affect your baby. Another common medication that can cause a decrease in milk supply, is birth control. And even the birth controls that are supposed to be safe for breastfeeding, you still want to watch to make sure that they, and I have talked about this before, but that they don't affect your supply. If you notice that they do, then you would want to find another method. But there are medications that you can take, birth control that you can take, that is supposed to not have that effect. I think it's progesterone only. So that's something that you need to talk with your doctor about. Let them know that you're breastfeeding. So you're going to ask your doctor, anytime you take a medication, is this safe? Will it affect my milk supply? Letting them know that you're breastfeeding. And if it's something prescription-wise, like an antibiotic, sometimes the medication that they prescribe is not safe for the baby or is not good for breastfeeding. And so sometimes you can do some research on your own and then talk with your doctor about alternatives, or you can just talk with the doctor about alternatives. Is there something else that I can take? Or you might ask yourself, ask your doctor or yourself, is this something that would affect me detrimentally if I do not take it? So common medications that aren't safe are some depression medications. And so, of course, if a doctor prescribes a depression medication, that is not something that you would want to question. I mean, you would want to ask if there's some safe things that you can take, because there are some medications that are safer. But you want to know everything you can about the medication you're taking, and if there are alternatives that you can take that are safe for breastfeeding. And you can always get second opinions, and speak with IBCLC, speak with the pediatrician, speak with your doctor, and just get all these different opinions, and then do some research yourself. Like I said, there's a website that you can go on, and I'll put that link below, that you can check. And they usually grade them as to how safe they are. And so you can look up the specific medication. So medications are really, really important. We don't want the baby to be affected, of course. And so you always want to make sure that whatever you're taking is safe for your baby, of course. And then the second thing you would want to think about is it going to affect my breastfeeding? And then once you've determined that, are there better options? Do I have to take it? Could I take something else? For instance, if you have a cold and you want to go buy the Tylenol flu, and you know that that's going to decrease your supply, you could say, okay, what can I do to treat myself without taking a medication that's going to affect my breast milk and my supply? So you might say, okay, well, I'll do some saline to clear my nose. You may say, okay, I'll take Tylenol or Motrin for a fever and body aches, for a sore throat, some lozenges, some warm tea, some popsicles, something cold there, whatever. Like, you can find ways to soothe the symptoms until your body gets past it. And of course, though, if it were something like the flu and you were given a medication for the flu, you would then want to check, is this something that's safe for the baby? And of course, I need to take it. So what can I do? So let's say you are given a medication. Sometimes when you say you had a C-section or sometimes mastitis, and you're given an antibiotic, and doctors will say this antibiotic is not safe for breastfeeding. And if you cannot get them to give you an antibiotic that is safe for breastfeeding, then what you can do is pump and dump while you're not able to breastfeed. And hopefully, another question to ask is, do I have to do a long period of time? Sometimes they can do stronger doses of antibiotic for a shorter period of time. Sometimes they don't want to do that. They want the longer period. And so if you are on, say, a 10-day, you could pump and dump. So as often as the baby feeds would be how often you would pump. And you would just dump that milk if it's not safe. Again, talk to an IBCLC, talk to the pediatrician, and talk to your doctor. Get the opinions of those. Usually an IBCLC can really help you. They have up-to-date information on the different medications that are safe, and they can give you some alternatives, and then you can talk with your doctor about those alternatives. Of course, none of us can prescribe. I'm a certified lactation counselor. I do have the information of different medications. I can answer that question, but I would never prescribe anything. I couldn't prescribe anything. So what I would do is be giving you some alternatives. This IBCLC is much more trained. They can give you alternatives of things that you can possibly do that's safe. And if they know that what you're taking is the best thing that you can take, then they'll give you ideas of what to do to keep your supply up so that you don't lose that supply for when you're able to begin breastfeeding again. And then they can maybe give you some ideas of increasing your milk supply. So say you started to take a medication and then you realize that it's affecting your milk supply, then of course you could find ways to increase your supply. And that would again be things that you can talk to an IBCLC. You can check some of my videos. I do have videos on how to build supply, what things affect supply, but I felt like medication is really important thing to talk about, especially with what's going on right now with just the flu, and it just being that season, the flu season, and just regular cold viruses and flus. And on that subject, the question that a lot of people will ask is it safe to breastfeed when I'm sick? And the answer to that is yes. In fact, it's better for you to breastfeed when you're sick for your baby, because most likely your baby has been exposed already to whatever you've been exposed to. And so by breastfeeding, you're passing all your antibodies that are attacking whatever you have, and you're passing that to your baby. So your baby doesn't have to build those antibodies. You're giving them to the baby. Think of the way that your body fights something. So when you're sick, your body then responds by building all these antibodies to attack it. We don't want the baby to get sick and have to build the antibodies. We want to give the antibodies so that if they do get sick, if they do get that virus or whatever it is, the body already has antibodies and it can attack it. And the baby's going to be like, compared to you, say you're sick for 3 days and it's horrible, the baby might be sick for a day, or maybe just a little bit of a runny nose or something. But you've already given them all these antibodies to fight that. So your baby's either not going to get sick, or if they do get sick, it'll be a lot less than what you got. At least, even if they get sick, you're passing these antibodies to them that are going to help them fight whatever they have. If you would not breastfeed and you would just bottle feed, then you wouldn't be giving them those antibodies. So they would have to do it all on their own. So that's still a benefit to breastfeeding while you're sick. And so it is important to continue breastfeeding even if you're sick. So that is it. That's all I wanted to talk about today. If you have any questions, feel free to leave them in the description below, or a comment below. I'm sorry, description. Just leave it in the comment below and I will try to answer any. If you have questions about medications, again, you can leave them in the comments below, but I will put some stuff in the description so that you have, like I said, information to look at on your own. So don't forget to hit the subscribe button so that you can be notified. I guess the notification bell is important so that you can be notified of my videos when they go up. And of course, subscribing so that you're able to follow the videos as I put them up. I try to put up videos either weekly or bi-weekly or every few weeks. I try to get a video out. So hitting the notification bell is probably one of the best things that you can do, because then you're ensured to get notified when I do put one up. So thank you guys for watching, and I will see you guys in my next video. Bye guys.